Why were chainsaws invented? Did you know that the original purpose of chainsaws was not to cut wood, but to cut bones? More specifically, to cut through the pelvic bones of women in labor. Yeah, you heard that right. The first chainsaw was invented by two Scottish surgeons in the late 18th century to help with a brutal and risky procedure called symphysiotomy. Symphysiotomy is a surgical operation that involves cutting through the cartilage of the pubic symphysis, the joint that connects the two halves of the pelvis. The aim of this operation was to widen the birth canal and allow the baby to pass through more easily in cases of obstructed labor. Obstructed labor occurs when the baby is too large or in the wrong position to descend through the mother's pelvis, and it can cause serious complications for both the mother and the baby, such as infection, bleeding, fistula, or even death. Before the invention of the cesarean section, also called the C-section, symphysiotomy was one of the few options available to save the lives of mothers and babies in obstructed labor. However, symphysiotomy was not done without its own risks and drawbacks. It was a very painful and invasive procedure that could cause permanent damage to the mother's pelvis, bladder, urethra, nerves, and muscles. It sometimes also leads to chronic pain, incontinence, infertility, sexual dysfunction, and psychological trauma. Moreover, symphysiotomy was not always effective in resolving obstructed labor and sometimes resulted in stillbirth or neonatal death. They designed a small hand-cranked instrument that consisted of a chain with serrated teeth attached to a wooden handle. The chain would rotate around the metal plate and cut through the cartilage of the pubic symphysis with minimal blood loss and tissue damage. The invention was inspired by another medical tool called an osteotome, which was used to cut bones during amputations. The osteotome had a blade with small teeth that moved back and forth when activated by a spring mechanism. John Aiken and James Jeffrey improved this design by replacing the blade with a chain and adding a handle for more control. The first chainsaw was used by Jeffrey in 1783 to perform a symphysiotomy on a woman who had been in labor for 4 days. The operation was successful and both the mother and the baby survived. Jeffrey later published a paper describing his invention and its use in symphysiotomy. However, his paper didn't receive much attention or recognition from his peers, and his invention remained obscure for many years. It wasn't until the 19th century that chainsaws began to be used for other purposes than symphysiotomy. In 1830, a German orthopedist named Bernhard Heine invented a modified version of Aiken and Jeffrey's chainsaw that he called an osteotome chainsaw. Heine's chainsaw had a flexible chain that could be bent around bones and joints. He used it to perform various orthopedic surgeries, such as removing tumors, correcting deformities, and treating bone infections. In 1905, an American inventor named Samuel Benz patented the first electric chainsaw that could be used for cutting wood. Benz chainsaw had a motor that powered a chain with alternating teeth that moved along a guide bar. Benz intended his chainsaw to be used for cutting logs into boards at sawmills. However, his chainsaw was too heavy and bulky to be practical. The first portable gasoline-powered chainsaw was developed by Andreas Still in 1926. Still's chainsaw had a lightweight engine that could be carried on the back of the operator. It revolutionized the forestry industry by allowing loggers to fall trees faster and easier than before. Since then, chainsaws have evolved into various models and sizes for different applications and users.